The first transaction that you will do for the month of January is a deposit. And if you read the instructions at the top of the entry, you will see that you opened your checking account by depositing your paycheck of $667.20 plus $50 in cash. It tells you to fill out the deposit slip below and endorse the check using an endorsement in full. So you see here, you have your deposit ticket, and you can see that next to date, I put the date of the transaction, which the instructions told me it was January 3rd. You also have next to cash, the amount of cash that you have depositing. You have $50 in cash money. So next to cash under dollars, you see 50. And next to cash under cents, you see 00. Next to checks, you have the amount of the check, which the instructions told me the check was for $667.20. If you look to the right of the deposit ticket, you will see a small version of what that check looks like. All right, so back to our deposit ticket. When you take $50 in cash and $667.20 as a check, when you add those two numbers up, you get a total deposit of $717.20. So under dollars, next to total deposit, you put $717, and under cents, you put 20. Now, less cash received is if you want to get cash money back. You do not want cash money back, so you draw a line there. And your net deposit is $717.20, which goes at the bottom of the deposit ticket. Now, go to the right of the deposit slip, and you will see a miniature version of your check. You have to endorse the back of the check. The bank wants you to endorse it. In this case, because you're opening a new checking account, you're going to make an endorsement in full payable to the bank. So you would put pay to the order of the bank, and you sign your name. This transaction is now officially done. You would take it to the bank and deposit the money, and you would officially have $717.20 in your account. And we now have the rest of January to do.
So here's our check register. We're going to keep up with the transactions that happen on our checking account in a Google Sheet so that we don't have to do it with paper and pen, because that's the alternative. When you have a checking account, you could choose to keep up with a ledger that's on paper and pen. So we're going to do it digitally. And here we go. So we're going to start with the first transaction, which tells us, if you look at your booklet for January the 3rd, we opened our checking account. And that deposit was previously made. And so therefore, we are going to just simply put it into our check register. So here under number, I don't put anything there because there is no check number. I'm making a deposit. When you make a deposit, nothing goes in the check number column. So I'm going to move on to date. The date of the transaction is January the 3rd. And the description is this is a deposit. So you just simply type in deposit as the description. Now, when money leaves your checking account, you put it in column D. Okay, so that would be like you writing a check or making using a debit card, something along those lines. That would go into column D. In this case, we're making a deposit. Money is coming into our account. So we move on over to column F, and in column F, we put the amount of the deposit that we put onto our deposit ticket, which was $717.20. Now, the cool thing about it is I've already got it formatted for dollar signs, so all you have to do is hit enter, and it will automatically put the dollar sign in. Also, I've already set up your Google Sheet so that you have a formula over here in column G that knows that it either needs to add if something is put into column F, or it needs to subtract if something's put into column D from the previous balance. So as you can see, my previous balance was here in cell G2, and it was $0 because we just opened the account. And when I put $717.20 in cell F3, the computer added 0 plus $717.20, and it gave me a balance of $717.20 without me having to do the math, which is really cool. So I will warn you, you want to avoid getting in column G. If you start messing around with the numbers in column G, you're going to mess up your formula and you're going to need help. So you definitely want to avoid that. So that's our first transaction. It's in our check register. We made the deposit at the bank, and we're ready to move on to the next transaction.
The next transaction tells you to write check number 101 for $35.24 to National Electric. So you can see this check the date is January the 8th because that's the date of the check. The person that you're writing it to is National Electric Company, and the amount is for $35.24. Notice that in the box over on the side, the number 35.24 is written there. And then on the line under that, you actually have to write out the words 35 and 24 over 100, and then draw a line out to the remaining empty space, and then you sign your name at the bottom of the check. And that transaction would then be put into your check register, and you move on to the next one.
So now I'm ready to enter in my check number 101 into the check register. So I'm back on my check register in Google Sheets, and I'm going to move to cell A4 because that's the next line. And in cell A4, I'm going to put check number 101 because that's what the instructions tell me. Look at your instruction book. The date is January the 8th, so I'm just going to put 1-8. And the description is who I wrote the check to. In this case, I wrote it to National Electric Company. And because money is leaving my account, I'm paying the electric bill. In cell D4, I'm going to put the amount of the check, which was 35.24. Got to put that decimal. Now I hit enter, and it's recalculated my balance. You can now see in cell G4, I currently have a balance of $681.96. I am officially finished with check number 101, and I'll move on to the next check.
The next transaction says that you write check number 102 for $24 to Reader Service. So you can see I've written the check like this. Check number 102 should be written like this. Take a close look at the picture.
So now I'm ready to enter check number 102 into my check register. So I'm in cell A5, and in cell A5, I'm going to put the check number of 102. The date is going to be January the 9th. And the description, again, is who I'm writing the check to. In this case, it's Reader's Service. And then in cell D5, because money is leaving my account, I'm going to put the amount of the check, which was $24. And you don't have to put the .00. It'll automatically add that in. And looking over in cell G5, I now notice that I only have $657.96, and I'm ready to do the next transaction.
The next transaction says that on January 10th, you receive a debit card in the mail. Activate it and memorize the PIN. Record the PIN in a secure location. There's no work that you have to do with that. You just need to understand that you've gotten a debit card, and so now you're not going to write as many checks. You'll be using the debit card instead.
So my next transaction says that on January the 15th, I used my debit card that I got in the mail, and I spent $40 at Ticket Forum to buy some tickets. So there is no check number. When you use a debit card, no check number. So I'm going to skip the cell A6. Nothing goes in A6. And I'm going to go to B6 and put the date that I used my debit card, which is January the 15th. And my description is where I used the debit card, which is Ticket Forum. And it's money leaving my account, so that's going to be $40 that I spent on those tickets, and I don't have to put the .00. And notice that it recalculates my balance. I now have $617.96.
Next up, we have check number 103 for $41.80 to Verizon. And you can look real closely to see how this check is written. Please make sure that you follow the guidelines and look and see how it's done.
All right, so I'm ready to put check number 103 into my check register. So to do that, in cell A7, I do have a check number this time. I'm going to put check 103. The date of that transaction is January the 15th. And the description is that it is to Verizon. And the amount of the check was for $41.80. And my balance is now $576.16. And I'm done with that transaction, ready to move on to the next one. Okay, so now I'm ready to, looks like on January the 19th, I'm using my debit card. I got to get my car fixed. So there's no check. When you use a debit card, you're not writing a check. You just swipe the debit card and the money comes out of your account immediately. And you just need to keep up with it in your check register. So that's what we're going to do here. Nothing goes in cell A8, again, because I'm not writing a check. In cell B8, I put the date that I got my car fixed, which if you look at the instruction sheet, it tells you that on January the 19th, you use the debit card at Hilltop Garage, and the amount of that transaction was $120.24. And so that transaction is done now. We have $455.92. Now look back at your instructions. It looks like we'll be using our debit card again on January the 22nd. We used the debit card to buy some clothes at Seasons Unlimited for $33.93. So I go on over to the date column and I put the date that I used the debit card, which is January the 22nd in this case. And it was at Seasons Unlimited. And the amount of the debit card transaction was $33.93. Remember, when you use that debit card, that money comes out immediately. So as soon as you swipe it, the money's gone. And now I have a balance of $421.99. Didn't have to write a check, so I'm moving through this pretty quickly now. Look at your next transaction. Here comes a check. Checks are slower, but some places don't take debit cards or they don't take any electronic moving of money, so you have to still write a check on occasion. Looks like on January 28th, we wrote check number 104 for $314.12 to KMT Insurance. So I'll show you how to do that. Let's go ahead and do it in the check register while we're here, and then we'll go write the check. So in cell A10, we're going to put the check number, which is 104. The date of the transaction was January 28th. The description is KMT Insurance. That's who we wrote our check to. And the amount, again, we're in column D still because money is leaving our account, was $314.12. I'm starting to hurt for money now. I only have $107.87. Let's go write that check, and we'll be done with this transaction. I'll show you how to do that check.
So this is check number 104 for $314.12 to KMT Insurance. Take a look at how that check's written. Okay, so on January 31st, we got some money. Woohoo! January 31st, deposit your paycheck. And the picture of the paycheck is over on the side over here. If you look at the picture of the paycheck, you see that you made $752.37. But if you look at the instructions over here, you're going to see that it says you deposit your paycheck, but you're going to keep $60 in cash for your personal spending. So look at how the deposit slip is filled out. You have the date, which is January 31st, and next to checks, you have the amount of the check, which is $752.37, giving you a total deposit of $752.37. Then next to less cash received, you're going to put 60 there because you're getting $60 in cash. You subtract 752.37 minus 60, giving you a net deposit of 692.37. That's how much money is going in the bank, and you're going to walk away with $60 in cash in your pocket to go spend for whatever it is you're needing $60 for. Up next, I'll show you how to put that in the check register. So in addition to filling out the deposit slip, you also need to endorse the check. So located over here underneath the check, you're going to see a blank space. And if you read the instructions above it, it tells you that you need to endorse it using a blank endorsement. What a blank endorsement is you sign your first and last name, and that's all you have to put on a blank endorsement. So make sure you add that to the deposit as well.
So the deposit slip is going to go to the bank, and I need to have a register of it in my check register. So now I'm ready to make an entry in the check register. So we're on the deposit for January the 31st. There is no check number because this is a deposit, so nothing goes in cell A11. We go to cell B11, and in B11 we're going to put the date, which is January 31st. And the description, this is a deposit, so we write the word deposit. Now, money's not leaving our account. We're actually getting money. Money's coming to us, so nothing goes in cell D11. We move on over to cell F11, and in F11 we put the amount of the deposit, not the amount of our paycheck. Our paycheck was $752.37, but remember, we kept $60 in cash from that, so the only amount of money that's going into the bank is $692.37. And so in cell F11 you put $692.37. And whoo, we got some money again. Our balance is $800.24, and we're ready to move on to the next transaction.
All right, so look at the next transaction. After the deposit on January 31st, it's time to pay the rent for February. So notice the transaction date is January the 31st. We're writing a check this time. We're writing check number 105 to Colonial Apartments for $450. And so you can see how that check is written. Look really closely at how check number 105 is written.
So you've officially written the check to pay your rent, your February rent, and now we need to put it in our check register. So in cell A12, you're going to put the check number. You see, you wrote check number 105, so in cell A12, you put 105. The date is January the 31st. The description, it's who you paid your rent to, which is Colonial Apartments. And this is money leaving our account. So in cell D12, you're going to put the amount of the rent, which is $450. You don't have to put the .00. When you hit enter, it will add that in. And notice now that our balance over here in cell G12 is $350.24. Now the next transaction on your instruction sheet says that on January 31st, reconcile your account statement for the month of January. So you're going to be doing that. What that means is you're going to take the statement that the bank sent you and make sure that the numbers they have on record matches what you have here in this check register, because sometimes mistakes do happen. And so by reconciling your account statement, this is where you can figure out where any problems might arise. This video is going to teach you how to reconcile a checking account. You start with your account statement, which is located on page 3 in your checking account booklet. This is what the bank says happened on your account, and you have to make sure that what it says happened matches the Google Sheet that you have. And you toggle back and forth between the two to make sure it matches. So to look at it here, you can see the beginning balance was $0 because you opened your account. There were $717.20 worth of deposits made. Payments of $276.21 with an ending balance of $440.99. This is the activity that the bank says happened on your account here and here. We are about to complete the account reconciliation form once we get the items from here and here checked off of the check register, which is your Google Sheet. Okay, so here's my Google Sheet. These are the transactions that I've put in throughout the month whenever I entered in transactions, starting with the deposit on January the 3rd, all the way down to the bank fee that's on January 31st. Now you may be going, wait a minute, I don't have a bank fee on mine yet. Well, the reason that you don't have the bank fee is because it's on your account statement. You see, your bank charges you $5 a month to be their customer, and they automatically take that money out of your account. So you also have to put it on your spreadsheet so that you can keep up with the money coming out, and you and the bank know that each other has the right amount for your account as far as the balance goes. So on your spreadsheet in cell B13, you'll put the date that the bank took the money out of your account, which is January the 31st. And if you look at your account statement, at the bottom of page 3, you will see under other activity a service charge of $5. And so that's what I've put here. So in cell B13, I put the date, January 31st. In C13, I put bank fee. You could also write service charge. Either one will be fine. In cell D13, I put the amount of the fee, which is $5, and it got my balance to $345.24. Now, you'll notice that there are some X's here in column E. The reason that they are there is because if you look at the bottom of page 3 at your account statement, in the section Checks and Deposits and Other Account Activity, these items that have X's next to them match that statement, and that's the purpose in doing that. So you should have an X in cell E3, E4, E6, E7, E8, E9, and you should also have an X in E13. The other items that are on this account statement, on this check register, for example, check number 102 for $24 and check number 104 for $314.12. Check number 105 for $450 and a deposit for January 31st for $692.37. All of those items, while you've done them, they have not gone through the bank account yet, which is why they do not have X's next to them. The bank doesn't know that they exist. So on your Google Sheet, you need to make sure that you have X's in the correct place, and you are ready to begin filling out the account reconciliation form on page 3 in your booklet. The first step to completing the account reconciliation form on the left side of the bottom of page 3 is it says ending balance on the statement. So in box number 1, you will write the ending balance on the statement. And I've drawn an arrow here so you can see where I got this number. But the number is $440.99. That's how much the bank thinks you have as of January the 31st. Now, the next step is to put the deposits not shown in the statement. And that goes back to that spreadsheet from the previous screen, that there was a deposit that did not have an X next to it, and it is going to be listed here. So as you can see here, step 2, deposits not in the statement. I put the date of the deposit that did not show up on the account statement. It's sitting out there on Google Sheets without a check mark next to it, without an X next to it. The deposit is dated January 31st, which is where you see this number. The amount is $692.37. And so down in box 2, you will write $692.37. At this point, this is what your account reconciliation form should look like. Now to continue completing the account reconciliation form, all I have to do is it says add item 1 to item 2. So in item 1, I have $440.99. In box 2, I have $692.37. When you add those two numbers together, you get $1,133.36. $1133.36 goes in box 3. Now we're ready for step 4. It says outstanding checks, debits, and transfers. This is where you're going to put anything that is in the check column on your Google Sheet that does not have an X next to it. So if you go back and look at your Google Sheet, you will notice that check number 102 written on January 9th for $24, check number 104 written on January 28th for $314.12, and check number 105 written on January 31st for $450. None of those 3 items have an X or a check mark next to it, so therefore it's considered outstanding and it goes in this section. Now that we have those checks listed in section 4, all we need to do now is get a total. So we add those 3 numbers up, and when we do, in box 4, you put $788.12. $788.12 is how much they add up to. And finally, The last thing that we do for box 5, it says subtract item 4, that's this number, from item 3, that's this number. So when you subtract 1133.36 minus 788.12, you end up with 345.24, and you know that you did the account reconciliation correctly, because this number right here should match your ending balance of 345.24 that is on your Google Sheet. If those two numbers match, that means you did this right and you're ready to move on to the month of February. Way to go!